Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 rated sportsbook app out there. I'm your host, Rudo, joined by Blaze Hunter and AJ Hafley as the Avs do something for the first time this year. They come back from trailing at the start of the third period and win a hockey game. Takes overtime to do it, but they get the job done. It was a windy road, this hockey game for the Avs. It was a windy road, but the W is in the book. They don't ask how. They only ask how many. And the Avs are 2 points behind Vegas with a game in hand for the top spot in the NHL. I guess Carolina's further ahead, but for the top spot in the West, we'll say top spot in the West. That's pretty good. All the way around. We'll get to all of it. Let's do our best to go in chronological order here. Turnovers were a problem in this hockey game from minute 0 to minute 60, I think, for the Avs. Their first goal for San Jose comes immediately off of Val Nichushkin just turning his brain off and throwing a floater back towards his defenseman for no apparent reason.
Well, and then slapping at it again.
Yeah,
he's back in front and slaps at it, and he goes right to Kane.
Yep.
Yeah, he would have been better off just trying to put it in the corner instead of just slapping it right to center ice.
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking something up just as he was talking, so that's why I was like drifting off into mental space.
That's an interesting super chat. I have to imagine the Avs have learned that lesson about the S&P Center, at the very least. Put it that way. But
yeah.
in any case, the Avs get the first goal back almost right away, 2 minutes later or something, I think it was, with Mikko Rantanen getting a puck on his backhand and Martin Jones being Martin Jones.
Yeah.
Which
I mean, going into the third period, I thought Martin Jones had actually played pretty well.
Not at the end of the third period.
No, I mean, you could argue all three of Colorado's last 3 goals were,
not great.
Yeah,
the last one for sure.
Well, he doesn't even move on the Landeskog goal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like.
Short side too. Short side in the corner.
Not see it? Like what happened? He barely flinches on that thing. Was that just was he just like, oh,
okay,
it got by me?
I guess like, I lost. Yeah.
I don't know. It was so bizarre. And then like the Kadri goal, like that's as soon as I saw him go and get that puck, I was like, oh. This is gonna be fun. This is the perfect moment for it to happen. Like that's exactly like that's just like the Kadriest goal possible. You know, like a big time goal that you just needed and comes right at the right time. Just it was perfect.
I like how I said let's go in chronological order and we skip straight to the third period.
I'm sorry.
I'm saying this is correct. The tape from that second period should be buried next to the Holy Grail in some unfindable location.
My game story was done, and then the Avs
did good things.
Forced me to continue to basically burn it. I'm not erasing it. You guys are going to read what I had written. I'm just adding on to it. I still have the Avs losing at the top of my game story right now. That's staying. That second period, it was so like they play a weird game against the Sharks 2 days ago, right? Like,
yeah.
So odd. So many weird bounces, so many weird things, like goalies out of the net, like Connor Timmins getting hit with the puck, like while on all fours inside the goal, like just like a goofy game, like a double doink with Soderberg, and
yep.
all kinds of strange things happened. And then tonight, another really goofy game, but in a totally different way. Like, the second period has been Colorado's playground this year. Like, whatever happens in the first period, you're like, oh God, now we got to put up with these guys in the second period. And then that's typically decided the game. If the Avs go out and they whoop up on somebody, they roll into the third period and they take care of business.
Straight up.
If they don't and they have the lead or they trail, they lose. If they're tied, it's all over the place. But they usually win. And it's just like, okay, like the second period kind of decides their fate. It's kind of a weird trait, but is how it is. And they get outshot 13-2.
Just awful hockey from the Avs.
Yeah, all the way around.
I mean, what? By the Sharks?
How bad was the defensive positioning in the second period? Just like weird, right? It was just like during the second period, everyone forgot how to play hockey.
It was like it was like they had never met each other.
Yeah, I don't.
It looked like the first day of training camp, and they roll out there and they're like loosey goosey, like firing pucks all over the place. And like the Nemeth one and you could the broadcast is talking about it, and they're like, oh, they just haven't managed the puck very well. They've been turning it over like crazy, and like. As it's coming out of Mosier's mouth, they're getting into it. Like the Nemeth horror show is taking place where you're doing you look like Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone, where you're like, what are you doing?
There were any other direction on the ice would have been a better place to put that hockey puck.
It was like he could have put it because he's not even trying to hit Tyson Jost.
He's trying to go through to Berkey. Yeah.
And like Jost like tries to step over it because he's like, what are you doing? Like there's nobody else on the ice. What the hell is happening here?
I mean, I think the damning part for me is there was no need for urgency there. There wasn't a Shark within 20 feet of that guy.
They were on a line change, and it was like, what are you doing, dude? Like, I understand. Like, Patrick, I am comfortable with the idea that when under pressure, Patrick Nemeth is going to make decisions that are going to frustrate everybody on the planet. That's true of Patrick Nemeth. That's true of probably 65% of the defensemen in the NHL.
But
like, that's just it is a very normal and acceptable trait for defensive defensemen in the league. That is a thing that you live with. But when a guy has no pressure, he has legitimately 4 teammates on the ice, all 4 of whom are outlet options. He has no opposing player within 10 feet of him. And he fires a puck into a teammate's skate. He does like the one thing that results in a turnover. You have to have and Bednar's been like, look, he's rusty. He didn't play for 3 weeks prior to us getting him
on that rust.
Like, but he didn't blah 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 blah. Right? Like, he's been rusty. There are some defensive zone details that we've liked from him. I thought last game, he was a lot better defensively. He obviously got the big time goal. You started to feel like, okay, this is the Patrick Nemeth experience they signed up for.
And then he has tonight, this game, and it's just right back in the barrel.
Dude, you go right back to it, and you're just like, bro. This is a super big problem here. Like, this is no longer like Connor Timmins' ascent is now required.
Yep.
Sam Girard coming back is now required. I mean, that was required anyway.
This is my question to you, Blaze, is what is the leash here with Patrick Nemeth? If this play continues, can you, as Jared Bednar or whoever, you as yourself, can you start this guy in the playoffs being Patrick Nemeth?
No. The Avs need to get healthy. Like, I would rather see McDonald out there than Nemeth at this point right now.
Well, and like McDonald skates today at practice. Yeah. And so, all right, now Timmins Timmins, I thought Timmins was nowhere near what we'd seen the last 2 games. He wasn't an impact guy. I didn't have any real problems with it. I'd have to look at the numbers to see if this was a total mess or whatever, but
he wasn't flipping pucks to the other team at will, so that was an improvement over at least a handful of guys. It's tough, and that conversation continues with Timmins, with Byram, with Girard. At what point do you have too many good options? Do you
not at the moment? That is not.
Sure, of course it's not
at the moment.
Of course it's not until people are healthy. But every hockey team in the history of time has a hard time when they go, "Oh, we gave up assets for this guy. We made a trade for him for this playoff push. We're not going to sit him."
Yeah, look. You're reaching the point where, look, if Bowen Byram gets healthy and Jacob McDonald are healthy, you have a serious conversation on your hands. Yeah. I'm sorry, but you just do. Like, I understand Byram's a teenager and blah, 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 but dude, you can't with this. You can't. This version of Patrick Nemeth cannot take the ice for you if you have other options at the start of the postseason.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how else to say it.
It's like he doesn't feel the puck or anything out there. He looks a little lost when he's in the D zone, which is kind of scary for a D-man. You know, just like some of the decisions you can kind of see him. He's like,
Timmins got rolled.
Trying to go to one player and then move into the other one.
That's the thing is like, and as AJ has put it over the first handful of games with Nemeth, it's like, look, the bad parts of his game are the bad parts of his game. You live with those because he does things like block shots.
Yeah.
He's blocked like 2 shots since he's come here. It's not been the parts of the game you expect him to excel at just haven't been there enough.
Yeah. Straight up. Like the problem with the Nemeth conversation right now is that the downsides of his game that you accept are the only ones that you're seeing.
His game right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just it's a struggle. Because again, this is the classic like veteran guy. Like you give him a long leash, you let him work through his issues. But when you have a defense like they've had this year, like I'm not necessarily saying he should get playing time over him, but like Dan Renouf was totally acceptable.
I mean,
tonight.
I think that this is a good conversation because when you're comparing him to Kadri, who this podcast and everyone has given an extremely long leash to on the offensive side.
Yeah.
When you look at the realistic replacement options for Nazem Kadri at center, as much as I love Shane Bowers, he's not going to score a ton for you if you're dropping him in as a 2C. It's just not realistic. When you look at the defenseman that could replace Patrick Nemeth, a lot of intriguing dudes. It's a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, until they brought Alex Newhook on the trip and all but said, we have to give this guy a look at some point. Like you're not having the conversation about replacing Kadri with anything. It's right. You have to ride that out. Yep. He's too important to you. He's too established. Blah, 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 blah. But with Kadri, you also knew, like you give that guy 20 games. Yeah, of course. It's going to work out. He's going to work it out. And then watch. He's the next 5 games.
He'll go off.
He's streaky. He's a streaky player.
If that guy if he's not a point per game player, I think we'd all be surprised if he's not a point per game player over the next week.
All right. I do want to continue the Kadri conversation. A couple quick questions, and we have to take our first break, though. Byram skated today on his own. We'll see how that goes.
He needed to get back on the ice.
Yep.
That's the step. With them on the road, you don't worry about this road trip. You think about the last 2 games at home against LA. Him skating on his own. If he can get himself ready for the 12th and 13th, we cooking.
Yep. And Patrick Nemeth is 29. This podcast is sponsored by Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. You can get that down at the DNVR bar with 8 different kinds on tap. You can also check out the 15-can sampler seltzer pack, which is all absolutely delicious. Find it at your local liquor store. Use the Breck Beer Locator online. Also brought to you guys by Gabby Insurance. That's GABI.com/DNVR. Hit them up. They're absolutely free to use, and they will very likely save you a large sum of money on your home and auto insurance. The average user saves $961 with them. So that's like almost $1,000. That's you're pushing into stimmy check territory amount of savings at that point. Get on it. Check them out now. Again, they're completely free to use and super easy. So Gabby.com/DNVR. Let them know we sent you over their way. And with those savings, head on over to thednvr.com. Get yourself an annual membership, not only to get all of our amazing content. By the way, if you haven't read AJ's piece on Connor Timmins, go check that thing out. It's dope. Highly recommend.
A lot of you said nice things about that piece today, by the way. So thank you. I appreciate it. I stayed up till 5 a.m. working on it.
There you go. Always burning the midnight oil here at DNVR. Just ask Blaze, working on the shirts over there at 4 a.m. Yeah, sign up. You get a free shirt. You get a free mask. You get a bunch of other awesome perks like joining us in the DNVR lounge, big beers down at the DNVR bar, and our amazing content too, because why not, right? Yeah, we have a fun time. It supports us in a big way when you sign up for our annual memberships. You can like and subscribe on the YouTube channel as well, as that does help us out as well. But in any case, let's get back to the conversation I had. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. We had a $10 super chat earlier asking about Kadri. If you were coach, who would be on Kadri's line? The Donskoy-Soderberg line combo seems to have difficulty controlling the puck sometimes, and same with Sherwood.
So, I think that I've said that I love Burakovsky with Jost and Nichushkin. I would keep it. Personally,
after tonight, how do you mess with
that? Even before tonight, I just thought it goes so well. Two dudes with stone hands that can't finish. Right, like they'll bang home a puck or two once a month, twice a month, or something. But otherwise, these are guys that are just dominating puck possession.
They create so much opportunity if you put someone who can finish. Yeah,
that level of finisher next to it was just like, yeah, I'm vibing with this whole combination.
P.S. Most Val Nichushkin goal ever, where Burakovsky shoots it in.
It's a perfect, it is perfect. It is exactly what you think of for like a Nichushkin goal, like goals going off his face, like breakaways getting stuffed, like bouncing in off the inside of his skate, like silly stuff, right? But
Blaze got to update the graphic with somebody else's stick.
That's what I was saying. Like, I might have to add another, the other stick in there in front of it, and then highlight that stick.
It's so true.
But to the point at hand,
yeah. I think Donskoy and Brandon Saad are when Saad is back.
Yeah,
I think that's my combo.
Who you run Saad at center then?
Kadri at center, and then until and then I have Soderberg, Belmar, and Comfer on my fourth line.
Sure.
Now, until Saad comes back, that's Alex Newhook's spot, in my opinion. That's where I put him. I put Newhook on the left side next to Kadri and Donskoy. You have a shooter. You have a guy that helps you get through the neutral zone, and Donskoy is a kind of do a little bit of a jack of all trades kind of guy, can finish, but is also a slick playmaker and a really good puck handler. And Newhook, we're gonna see kind of how he rolls, but that's exactly how I would have them aligned. I'm not putting Alex Newhook. And I've said this 1,000. I'm not putting him on that fourth line. I'm not playing with that. I'm not messing with it. If you're gonna play him, you play him. You give him a serious look. You put him in a position to succeed, and you mess with him as a center later on or in a different situation, whatever. But you don't. I'm not worried about him as a center right now. I'm not giving him that defensive responsibility right now. It's a lot. It's a lot for that guy to try and handle right off the hop. And this is like. He's not Peyton Krebs. He's not going to come in and play that mature defensive game right away. So don't ask him to. Ask him to be who he is offensively on the left side next to a couple of established cats that can help lift him up. And between his playmaking and his shot,
well, I don't mind him next to Kadri specifically because you take a player like Kadri and you're telling Newhook, you don't have to carry the puck that much with this guy in your line.
Yeah,
you can play away from the puck and just get to the right spots, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and look, I don't necessarily agree that it would be a total waste to put him on the fourth line. If it's like Soderberg, Kadri, and Donskoy, you're kind of like whatever. And then your fourth line though has a little bit of juice. Next with Belmar and Comfer, there's a little bit of skill there. There's a little bit of skating that he comes in. The problem is that line is very situationally used.
You have exactly that. If you're putting Newhook on the fourth line, you have to understand how it affects the usage of the line, because if you're dropping Newhook out for a defensive zone face-off and you lose the puck, you're just not putting him in a situation to succeed.
It's just not a good way to evaluate him either.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not
really
what's the point?
What his potential is.
What is like, you love the upside there, right? But him playing 7 minutes in that kind of a role, it's just like, like you watch this guy get dropped in the AHL, take one whole game to adjust, and then just started smoking the league. Like, let's do the same. Let's do the same thing. I think when it comes to the NHL, I mean, you just put him in a position to be who he is and succeed at his highest level.
Chat, I promise we'll talk about Tom Wilson at some point.
Yep. To be it might be tomorrow's conversation, so we have a show to talk about tomorrow.
Well could be tomorrow.
Because I think that's an in-depth conversation, and tonight's kind of a big night.
Yep.
The big comeback win and all that. I think we'll probably keep it focused on this for now, but definitely know that we'll be touching on Tom Wilson because there are some thoughts.
And the whole Caps org after that too.
Yeah, I mean,
not the whole org.
Maybe chill out, social media fella.
Yeah,
that
a little bit.
Big.
So Devin Dubnyk tested positive for COVID. He's out for 2 weeks. He'll stay in San Jose when the team leaves, and he'll drive back to Denver when his 2 weeks is over.
I wonder if he still has his home in San Jose.
He does.
Yeah.
So he'll stay there. And that's.
Hope that's the end of the list this time, basically.
Well, and they've got 2 back-to-backs.
Yep.
This week and next, so it's not an irrelevant positive test. I mean, it's
JoJo on the back-to-backs now. Yep. Anyway, sticking to tonight, we talked in depth about the Nemeth goal, third goal against the Avs in the second period. Landy kind of just walks himself into trouble at the blue line and ends up turning it over. Makar gets caught by Kane, can't track him down, and then
he was on replay so close to getting that
stick. He
stick.
Almost did, but I think
come on, Groovy.
Right, exactly. The conversation here is going to be umbrellaed under the Avs won this game, so it didn't matter. There was awful defense in front of him. Groovy not that good tonight.
No.
Nope. I told you guys are going to read what I wrote before the big comeback, and I have a whole thing on Grubauer just not playing very well, and that it really shows the vulnerability of this team when Grubauer's not locked in at his best. You see, they're vulnerable. I will give Grubauer credit. After those 2 goals in the second period, he made some big saves to keep it from getting to that fourth goal, to keep it from getting to 4-1. Now, it got to 4-2 on the Meyer goal. The Meyer goal didn't bother me at all. Timo Meyer's a very, very good goal scorer.
It went posted in with the screen, the far side. Like, hard to blame Groovy on that one.
Yeah, I have no issues with that fourth goal for Groovy, but I really struggled with the Hurdle goal. The first goal doesn't really bother me that much either because that's way more about a turnover. Like, Evander Kane is a guy that rolls in goals every year. For that guy to score both on a breakaway and alone in 5 feet away from him, the breakaway. What I didn't love about it is that like Groovy didn't read it. Kane doesn't really make much of a move. Makar defends him enough to help his goaltender, and he bites on a move that doesn't exist, and he like lays out in a goofy way where you're just like,
if he just gets his leg against the post on that opposite side, it's not a goal.
Yeah, it's not a goal, and he doesn't have to worry about it being like last game where there's a follow up.
Right. and then the hurdle one. Both, first of all, after the turnover, Nemeth full YOLO commits to hurdle and just gets walked. And then Gruby also full YOLO committed the same direction as Nemeth. It was bad.
Yeah. Well, and the hurdle one really bothered me because it's like, that's not much of a move.
Yep.
And he's diving, like that puck goes into the center of the net.
Yep.
That's how out of position you got on one deke to the inside. It was just, and it's so uncharacteristic because when Grubauer's at his absolute best, it's when he's reading the play.
Every save looks super routine because he's locked on it.
And for him to have bit like that hard on a basic move, I just didn't think it was a very special goal.
I wonder if he thought that the defenseman was going to take away that lane. That's kind of what
I assumed.
So he thought it was going to be like a short side shot.
He expected Nemeth to just take away the far side move, and then.
Well, if you watch his head, you'll see that when that gets turned over, the first thing he does is he looks to his defense to his left and says, "What do I have over here?" Yeah. And I think when he did that, and he saw that he had like Nemeth was existing.
He just ignored that half,
Yeah, and he just assumed that he was going to be good.
So,
but
maybe that's as much a conversation as Nemeth not being adjusted to Grubauer behind him as anything.
I was going to say, like, it's kind of a big assumption to make in that situation. But either way, I just didn't think it was very. I didn't think it was very good from him, but it ended up being good enough. He made a couple of big saves down the stretch, and then. I tell you, Jonas Donskoy on that back check.
Ooh, did he
on Kane with like 90 seconds left in regulation? Ooh, that was big, but that was a phenomenal example of what I talk about when I say that defense is a team concept. You can't just look at the defenseman and go, okay, well, where's the defense? Like Donskoy, they needed help on that one, and Donskoy bailed them out, coming back and getting that stick.
The Sharks' fourth goal is a prime example of the opposite. The Avs give up a 4-on-2 because Mikko's mad about an uncalled penalty, and then McKinnon is literally just coasting through the neutral zone. And your forwards got to help out, man. You can't just abandon them back there.
Well, and when they're at their absolute best defensively, it's because like you see they do a phenomenal job as a team of picking up trailers and guys who are coming into the zone late, because you see that's the transition opportunity that teams prefer, because when you get into the zone, you're 3-on-2. Those two guys are marked immediately, and you're just trying to figure out how to exploit. Okay, how do you exploit that third guy? It's usually the guy. He slows up. He knows.
Yep.
Okay, I've got the puck. I'm now these two guys. These two guys have paired off. They're marked. I have the puck up high. I'm in the center of the ice. I have space. Colorado as a team does a phenomenal job of sifting through the traffic in transition and picking up the trailers.
Yep. And
we just didn't see that tonight on that same level. Now, the Donskoy one, that's a great example. That's not in transition. That's a chaotic, like, in zone
nonsense.
Like there's a lot happening there.
You're running crossing routes, and it's just
Donskoy's like, hey, there's a guy vying for a hat trick standing alone in front of the net. Let's go pick that cat up. And goes and gets him just in the nick, like just perfectly timed.
Bang bang. Yeah.
Great defensive play, and that's one of the things that you look for when Colorado really gets locked in, is the way that their forwards contribute defensively. And saw that in the first period. You saw it in shades in the third period. You didn't see it even once in the second period. It was such a disaster. But for them to have those kinds of extremes in the game, I think it's pretty telling. Halfway through that game, San Jose had the shot attempt lead.
Yeah. It was
down
pretty comfy.
Down 3-1 going into the third period, and they do 28-13 in shot attempts at 5v5, 16-5 in scoring chances.
Yep.
So in this, at 5v5, they gave up 0 high danger chances in the first game of this series. They gave up 4 in the second game.
And
tonight,
5 in this one.
Tonight, they gave up 10.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
They gave up 10, 8 of which were in the second period. Yep. So if you remove that second period,
2 and 40 minutes, yeah.
It's a better defensive. They gave up, mother of God, they gave up 18 scoring chances in the second period
alone.
And they gave up 8 combined in the first and the third.
Yep.
Like that second period, yep. That second period was genuinely just the worst.
Yeah.
That's and it's so bizarre because you usually like when the Avs got beat up by St. Louis in St. Louis, that last game that they played wasn't very competitive. The Blues jumped all over them early and blah, blah, blah. But like the Avs just didn't have it that night.
Yep.
And that's one thing that you see sometimes. Like sometimes they just don't have it. But the first period, they like shelled San Jose.
At 5-on-5, the Avs were dominant in the first. Outside of one horrible turnover, that was a very great period. Like,
well, and very rarely have we seen this season a situation where the Avs have a great period and then like totally collapse.
Yeah.
Like there have been some third periods where they've been trailing and they've been trying to come back. They've been making the desperation home run plays, and then it's fallen apart on them. San Jose, Minnesota, Vegas. You know,
one,
yeah, they're all examples of games where those things had happened to them. But very rarely have we seen them have a great period. Because the first period was, a great period.
Yep.
They played great hockey outside of like those turnovers really early on.
Ghosted the second period then.
Just so bizarre. And then like now they're in desperation mode, which we just haven't seen very much of. They get it 3-2 early on. They make it 3-2, and you're feeling it. You're like, oh, okay, cool. And big time break for them on the Jost pick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was absolutely a penalty in every imaginable way.
There were some people who hit me up and were like, he tried to sell that by going down. I'm like, bro, that is a pick.
Yo, Broncos need O-linemen, all right? I
was going to say, dude, if that happens in an NFL game, they call that offensive pass interference these days. Like, you can't even do that shit in the NFL anymore. It was such a blatant pick play. And for them to like, for them to like hit the post, Berkey hits the post, and then they like score again.
Yep.
Where you're just like, wait, did he score the first time? Okay, well now he for sure scored. It was. Yeah. They got really, really lucky on that one, but then after that, that's just them doing. They did a good job, and look, it's not their fault that Martin Jones fell apart. You know, the same way it's not San Jose's fault that Grubauer didn't particularly play great either. You have to overcome that stuff to win games.
That's the magic of hockey. You don't have to be great. You just have to be better than the other guy. Grubauer with an 852. Jones with an 839.
Yahtzee.
Did you guys notice the refs and the linesmen kind of in the way a lot tonight? Did you guys notice that at all?
I laughed the power play in the third period where they cleared the puck up and it hit the linesman and goes right to Makar.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, this is a huge break for them. And then Makar gives it to McKinnon and McKinnon gives it away immediately. And it was like, dude, they really don't have it. They really don't have, and then they win the game.
Yep.
Because what the hell?
Yep. I do want to point this out. But why does the 15-second rule exist on icings? Because we saw in the third period in this game where the Sharks were clearly like, all right, we're just going to ice the puck until this game ends. On average, it was 30 seconds plus between faceoffs. So, and I understand this is not like pertaining to this game specifically, every single game this happens in, where the 15-second rule, where you have to drop the puck within 15 seconds, is just completely ignored, and it like makes face-offs or makes icings a lot less bad. It feels like it's just weird to me that the NHL choose to completely ignore that rule.
Yeah.
I mean, it's every sport kind of has their pace of play rules that they just ignore, right? Like you ever watch Rafael Nadal play?
Yeah. Well,
that guy has to spend 45 seconds picking his shorts out of his ass between every single point.
My thing is, in this case in the NHL, I think it's more than pace of play, right? You're negating an advantage for the offense because that defense that's been stuck out there gets a little bit of extra rest every single time.
Yeah.
Especially, and it's a little bit more noticeable too when they're just back to back icing the puck.
And I do say this because after last game, which the Avs scored 3 face-off goals, and they did it twice in this game too, where an offensive zone face-off led pretty much directly to a goal.
Yes.
So the set plays are destroying San Jose, if nothing else.
I did find it amusing that the San Jose icing became like a thing to follow because they kept waving it off.
Yeah.
Like Connor Timmins goes back and picks up a puck that is a solid foot behind that end line, and they wave it off. And I'm like, I was like, bro, like, come on, man, what's up though? Like, what's happening here? And then late in the game, they were like icing. Like it was like the obvious ones where you could just like sometimes you wonder, like, does the linesman have somewhere to be? Does he have the date?
Calling him, yeah.
And it's like that guy just wants, it's like an 8:30 puck drop. That guy is just like, oh my God.
Babe, come over. I can't, I'm reffing.
That's right. I'm reffing.
My parents aren't home. That's not icing.
That's not out of no icing, boys.
Trip on Joe. No, that's clean.
It was just, I don't know. It was just sort of odd. And then like the weird part of that third goal that really kind of was a bolt of lightning of life for the Avalanche bench. They lost that faceoff.
Yep.
Like we're talking about, they scored right off a faceoff, and they lost that sucker. And then Logan Couture just turns it over. Like Landeskog's just like, thanks, fella, and just walks in front. And again, like, but such an odd play because Martin Jones just doesn't react to it.
Yeah. Pretty much that simple. 19th goal of the year for Landy. Also, he needs one more for the big 20.
Yep.
Yeah.
No reaction from those guys too. I'm just watching that goal right now. They score and like they fist bump.
And they know they got more work to do.
Landy says something to Rantanen, but
I can look. I'll try and lip read it while you guys keep going.
Yeah, but like there's no, like, they're not excited, they're not amped up, there's nothing, right? I want to read into that and say that that's a super good thing. Because that means business? Yeah, well they were like, look, we're okay, great. Now it's 4-3. We still have work to do. You know, that was in the first half of the period. And so it was like, all right, now we're down 1. We've got to use these last 11 minutes or whatever to make this happen.
Yeah, it looks like he says nice effing S. One more team. That would be my guess on a quick lip read.
Who's that term? Oh my God, it's dude. How bad is Brent Burns?
He bad.
Because that's his turnover on the Kadri goal. I'm just rewatching this as well.
Yep, -3 for Burns.
So he grabs this puck, drops it, spins around like a bad Sam Girard, flubs the pass up the wall. Kadri gets it and then walks past Burns, and all Burns does is one slap with his stick on his hands. And then if you watch Burns in overtime, He's horrible. And I've been like,
since put up AJ's face. Just put it up there.
Oh, yeah, you should probably explain where this
For the
comes
GW.
Uh-oh. Is Allie not there? We caught her by surprise. In short, AJ made a face when he realized how the overtime goal was playing out.
So I did not see the overtime goal live because I was writing, and it was just on the second monitor. And so when
there we go.
Yeah, I went back and watched it while we were getting ready to start the show, and that was my reaction because it was super bad. It was super bad. They just gave Burakovsky all the room in the world. I mean, they just backed up. Like credit for Rantanen too to take it outside of the zone. Normally, when that happens, teams will at least have one guy go and pressure the puck and then keep the other two in the zone. And instead, they had all three kind of hang out in sort of in the zone. Like Brent Burns was like the tip of the pyramid, like all the way back, right? And then Rudolph Balcers goes across the ice where he thinks McKinnon is, but McKinnon's changing. Yeah. And so then Balcers stops. And then now the guy who jumped on the ice, Balcers is with him.
But he gone.
And okay, so that's not his assignment. And then Logan Couture just never picks up the puck. And Brent Burns is so far back that Burakovsky's just like,
oh, I guess I'll walk in then.
You guys just gonna keep letting me skate in with this thing? Nobody ever picks him up, and he just walks right on in. And I mean, look, I was very, very vocal about how awful I thought Brent Burns was in their playoff series 2 years ago. I was cataloging how awful he was because I was just like, this guy sucks. He's a horrible defender. Yeah, man, I'm the singer for Smash Mouth. This is my second career.
What? What? He doesn't look anything like that guy.
The one that I always get is Nick Swartzen.
I don't know who that is.
I do. Comedian out of Minnesota. It's pretty funny.
I'll take your word for it.
Or Kevin Smith. I used to get the Kevin Smith one a lot more. Which
if your beard was grown out a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah, it kind of depends. My beard just goes through phases. Cycles of the moon.
Yeah.
Anyway, that overtime. I mean, they won the face-off. They looked for opportunities. They didn't get too cute. They held on to the puck the entire time. I mean, you remember they used to lose. They used to lose the face-off, and the team would roll down, and McKinnon or Rantanen would do something stupid and leave somebody totally wide open. And seeing the maturity of the team in 3-on-3, even when they've lost this year, they lost one of their games in overtime because Devon Taves' stick snaps in half.
Yeah,
on a clearing attempt in the crease. There's been, and that was right after Nathan McKinnon got tripped with the puck. There's been some nonsense that's cost them OT games.
2 years ago, even when the Avs had the puck, the Avs would get it, and one guy would be like, "All right, time to go superhero mode," and get halfway to the red line and turn it over, and it's like, okay,
well, and I remember that Tampa Bay overtime game in Denver last year, and McKinnon turns it over at the blue line to Kucherov. Yep. He's up high, and he's trying to do all that cute shit, and Kucherov just sticks his stick out and just stops it cold, and then it just skates in a straight line, and it was like...
Not great.
You can't make it this easy, dude. Keep this simple. You can do all the special stuff on a breakaway or whatever, right? But otherwise keep this simple and basic because mistakes are killer here. In 5-on-5, you can live through a mistake like that. You got a bunch of guys on the ice to help you. In 3-on-3, you don't. And seeing them keep it really simple tonight, it was like, they're growing up. They're maturing in a format that has eaten them alive the last several years. I don't know. I thought that was encouraging.
It was. Yeah. I didn't think they were gonna get a point out of this game when the Sharks made it 4-2.
That's when I started writing.
Right. But
they scored so early. They a minute and 18 seconds into the third period. I didn't even have time to get going on it. I didn't have time to not believe in them. And then they get scored on 2 minutes later, and I was like, "Yep, this is done."
But they did the thing. Now 1-8 in games trailing going into the third period.
It's the last one that counts, though, right?
Right. I mean, look, this one brought them to within 2 points of Vegas, right?
Yeah.
So 2 points behind
Minnesota.
2 points behind Vegas. They have a game in hand. They have a head-to-head. They have an easier schedule. 2 points ahead of Minnesota with a game in hand.
Yep.
So they're in the driver's seat for the division title now.
Let's go.
Yep. Yeah. Also, the Avs are now tied with 6 other teams having just one win when trailing after 2.
So it only
all of those teams except Carolina have significantly more games in that situation. Carolina is 1-4-2 when trailing after 2 periods.
Wow.
Yeah. That's incredibly impressive.
Not an easy out.
Yeah. Detroit now the only team in the league without a win. They are 0-23-1.
Jesus Christ. What the hell is that statistic?
Yeah.
That the scary part about that statistic is that means they have significantly further losses when they weren't trailing going into the third period. Because they have 27 regulation losses and 9 OT losses.
Yeah, this does not. For some reason, they don't have a tied on here, so I don't know what that's. But they're not blowing leads.
So if they're tied going into the third, they might as well be trailing, basically.
Yes, because Detroit is 14-0-3 when entering the third period.
With leading. So a tie is basically Detroit is lost. Got it.
The worst team in the NHL this year.
You could say the Buffalo Sabres. You're allowed to say that.
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, they're 8-1-3 when leading after 2. Wow, they don't lead very much.
Nope.
And they are 2-27-2 when entering the third period trailing. So that's
wow.
If you guys will give me a sec, I'll give you what the Avs are in Jared Bednar's tenure.
Ooh, baby.
Wow.
What? Blaze, where do you go with a game like this if you're Colorado? If you're Jared Bednar, how much of tomorrow is let's look at this tape? Or how much of it is don't do that again in the second period? As AJ
I think there's a lot to look at in the second period because if you want to sit out there and start pointing out like things that you're doing wrong in positions not being played correctly, that's like basically you could just take that whole period and watch it straight through and pause play.
Do the Peyton Manning. All right, I'm going to run this until whoever admits they were wrong.
Could you imagine in Peyton Manning sitting in the meeting room and with a little clicker and just staring at everybody? Who's gonna own it? With that giant ass forehead of his glaring, the light glaring off of it, and it's all red, and you're just oh, he's so mad right now.
I'm part of my head. I know it's not the case, but I want to believe that it's Mikko that does that for the Avs. And every play, he just he puts it up there, shows it, and breaks a stick. Shows it again, breaks another stick.
I feel like Mikko is the guy that they have to tell to calm down during video sessions because he chirps everybody when they talk about somebody doing something wrong. He rides them, and they're okay, all right, peanut gallery, chill out.
You don't think he's the presser where he's just pissed off, just over in the corner, just fuming, mad about everything?
Really, Mikko I mean, again, you lose some touch because you haven't been in a locker room in a year, right? But that's not a guy that I see get angry very often.
100%. In the film studies, Mikko is the guy going, yeah, that one's the ref's fault because he didn't call the penalty.
he's like Bedsy, back it up 10 more seconds and watch this bullshit at the other blue line.
Exactly right. Yeah, I did not think this was going to be a happy podcast, but here we are.
Yeah, it wasn't looking like it.
So just to let you guys know, this is really just going to drive home how awful 16-17 was.
Oh God!
In Jared Bednar's tenure, the Avalanche are last in the NHL with 11 wins when trailing after 2 periods.
Jesus,
just 11. They are 3 behind Detroit in that time. They are 11, 108, and 15.
Wow.
How many total losses does Jared Bednar have?
So that's when trailing after 2.
Yeah, I
want for comparison, that's a .082 win percentage when trailing after 2, which is actually better than Detroit's. Detroit's is .078 because they are 14, 154, and 11.
What? 154.
Yeah. If we remove the year that shall not be named, Colorado, the funniest part is Colorado loses 3 of their wins.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But they lose a ton of their losses.
It's got to be like 30 off the losses.
Yeah. So they were 11, 108, and 15. If you don't count 2016-17, in that time since then where they've been a playoff team, they are 8, 67, and 12.
That 41 losses trailing into the third in 16-17. Oh my God.
That is with tonight. Yeah.
That was a bad year.
Yeah.
Yep. So it really goes to show, I mean, and they just less and less every year. They go into the third trailing.
Yep.
So, yeah. Somebody said, now do wah.
No, thanks.
Hold on. 1, 2, 3. There we go.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
In those 3 years, the Avs were 5th in that stat. They were 19, 71, and 7.
Yeah, but now take away 13, 14, and they'll have like 7.
1971 and 7, and then they go to, in those 2 years, 11, 53, and 4.
It's okay. So only 6 comebackers that year, which is still like an insane amount. But all right.
The even funnier one is if you look at outshooting versus outshot.
Oh God. Yeah.
I think the Avs had in 2013-14 that crazy year. I think they had like 35 wins
where they were outshot heavily.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember a handful of shots that are 20 to 40 wins for the
Oh, I was right. Yeah. They had 35 wins when they were outshot by their opponent.
That was the year too with like puck possession time was like outrageous as well, right?
Yeah. They had none.
Yeah.
Declined puck possession.
Yeah.
Let's look at this year's in this. I haven't actually looked at it all this year. Wins when outshot by their opponent. Oh, yep. The Avs are at the very bottom. They only have 5 wins when outshot by their opponent.
Yeah.
For the record,
hard to do though.
They are 5-2-2 in those situations.
So 9 games total.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take it.
And then wins when they outshoot their opponent. They lead the NHL by several. They are 29-10-2.
They lead the entire NHL in regulation wins, right?
Maybe.
Yeah. After tonight, they do. Yeah, Edmonton has 29, and after tonight, Colorado has 30. So they
don't mess around with that. They don't mess around with overtime very much compared to other teams.
Yep.
Like if you look at the difference between Edmonton doesn't either, because Edmonton only has 31 rows and 29 regulation wins. But you look at like Vegas, they have 28 regulation wins and 35 rows.
Yep.
So I mentioned this in my article the other day to keep that in mind, that Colorado has the first tiebreaker. So if they do end up in a tie, regulation wins is first tiebreaker, and they have that advantage right now. They have a 2-win advantage over Vegas currently.
Yep. For them
in that category,
Colorado would have to maintain that lead for them to tie.
Yeah. Well, and Vegas only has a 1 advantage in rows as well, so that could be made up in the game in hand that they have.
Yep.
Which would then get them to the third tiebreaker.
And if they do win that game, that gets the head-to-head tiebreaker as well. So.
Yeah. Which is total wins.
Yep.
And then head-to-head. It's crazy that head-to-head is like
so far down the list.
Yeah. Yeah. Personally, people keep asking, who do you guys prefer to play? I don't give a shit. Bring anybody on. I'm not afraid of any of it. The Avs shouldn't be. They match up well with everyone in some way. So, we'll see how it goes. It's getting interesting. There was a time tonight where it looked like Vegas was going to win and Colorado was going to lose. And then the first period started, and San Jose scores on Colorado, and then Minnesota scored twice in the last 90 seconds to erase
Vegas's epic collapse.
Yeah.
To not even get to overtime in that game.
Yeah.
I thought that was an overtime win too, and then I went back and looked at it. I was like, oh, that was in regulation. That's tough.
2 goals in the last 90 seconds. Like Kaprizov tied it, and everybody was like, oh, they're going to go into overtime, and then Minnesota scored on the next shift. A shot from Jonas Brodin hit 2 dudes and bounced in.
It's a sign.
So they have the 2-point lead on Minnesota in that game in hand as well.
Is there a world where
all the tiebreaker advantages?
Is there a world where Vegas falls to 3?
Yeah, I mean at this point, totally, man.
Yeah,
they have the same
4 points behind them.
The thing is, though, is that they only have 5 games left.
Right, it'd have to happen,
and they have I believe they have a head-to-head remaining.
So they have a head-to-head, and then Colorado could help Minnesota if they do the job against Vegas.
Well, and you keep in mind that at the moment, Vegas only has 1 win in their franchise's history in Minnesota.
Yeah, they are bad in Minnesota.
So, I mean, look, if Colorado ends up with a playoff path of St. Louis and Minnesota, I think that sucks for us because we've been wanting. I mean, I think that sucks for everybody because everybody wants Colorado Vegas.
Yeah.
But we don't want it in the first round. We want it specifically in round 2 for the chance to go to what would be the conference finals.
Yep.
But Vegas can't seem to handle the Wild, and the last 2 games between St. Louis and Colorado certainly weren't the most encouraging thing in the world.
Nope.
Some serious caveats about Grubauer didn't play either one of those games.
Grubauer's played 3 games all year.
Yeah, they're like the Avs.
Some injuries.
Yeah, the Avs were missing some cats. The same way that there were caveats with the Blues Avs earlier in the season, where you're like, St. Louis is missing all these guys.
Yep.
So should be interesting. There was a little bit of justice tonight. It felt good seeing the Avs be the team to eliminate the Sharks officially. 2 years after the Game 7 between them, and just watching the teams go in divergent directions, and I don't know. I liked it. I kind of liked, especially the comeback win where it was just like, meh.
There's a little extra. It's the salt sprinkle when you get the playoff elimination.
Yeah,
it feels
and now 6-1 against San Jose on the season.
Yep.
Wow.
So, yep.
Not too shabby.
Be great to see them finish it off here in 2 days, but yeah,
we'll see on Wednesday. I guess
this was.
All right. we're going to get out of here. Any final thoughts you want to add, Blaze?
Does Newhook play on Wednesday?
No way.
No way. Later.
I don't think he plays at all.
Oh, really? Just here for the trip?
I disagree completely. Especially after tonight. I think that Bednar's going to be like, low-key, I wonder if Carl Soderberg stays in the lineup. Because...
Look, I'm here for it. I would love it.
I mean, the big thing that you bring Newhook into the lineup for is juice. You want that extra, the extra skater. You want a guy that's going to drop in and, do something. And I don't think Soderberg has been bad. I just think
He's been a guy.
I just think that when you talk which spot could you realistically upgrade here, that's the guy that I look at and say, yep, I would keep that Comfer, Belmar, and Sherwood. I'm fine with the role that they continue to play. I like Sherwood, man. I have no I hate seeing LOC done for the season with the surgery, and who knows with Calvert. I hate that because I love both those. I love watching both of those guys play, and they both bring an important element. And you look at it, they bring juice. Both of those guys, they bring the speed element to that fourth line that's not really there right now. But Sherwood is filling that role really nicely. With Newhook, though, I think Soderberg would be my first odd man out.
As Chat has brought up, Newhook should be banned from stepping on the ice until he gets that number changed.
It's been funny to watch old school Avs fans be like, it's cursed. And then some people be like, what are you guys talking about? And this isn't cursed. Adam Denmarsh wore this number.
Well,
Alex Tanguay wore this number.
You can't look at it either because the curse is guys like Jesse Winchester.
Yeah, Jesse Winchester, who officially never played for the Avs because he got hurt the third preseason game in Calgary and never played in NHL again.
And Connor Timmins has never officially worn 18 either because he didn't play that entire year.
Yeah. And it was just it's cursed. Rudo, you and I sat there and told Connor Timmins all about the curse on this podcast.
He was like, I had no idea.
He was like, I don't know about that.
They just give us numbers. Completely out of our control.
You think it's an accident that dude's wearing 22 right now? Oh, please.
Yeah, exactly. 18 players get traded. Denmarsh got traded too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
18's a bad number. Get it out of here.
Watch. Newhook's going to end up he's going to be so good that they have to retire 18. And the curse solves itself.
The numbers would be getting thin. If you retire 18, you have 18, 19, and 21 retired. Someone's got to get 20, and then you got a whole row.
Yeah. Well, and then you also have all them ones in the 90s, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're already cornering the market of 90s for sure. Yeah.
Because 92 and 96 aren't getting worn by anybody else.
They need to start. They have 77 and 33 too. They got a couple doubles up there.
Yeah.
No, I don't. There's no doubles that'll get retired on the team right now, is there? Because Timmins is 22, Calvert was 11.
No,
I can't think of. Someone's 40. Sherwood's 44 right now, right? That so many people have worn that number. That I have.
Nolan Pratt, Mark Barberio special.
Yep. No one's 55 right now.
81 would be such a good new hook number.
Yeah, I saw that.
That would be such a good new hook number.
Okay. Anyway, we're off in Tangentville here, so we're going to wrap this one up. I promise we'll talk about banning Tom Wilson for life tomorrow. Other than that, thank you everyone for watching, listening. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Again, that helps us out a ton. If you really like us, go sign up for a membership over at thednvr.com. Of course, you can always check us out as a podcast if YouTube isn't your thing. Also, if you're into that kind of thing, the Saturday video is now back up on YouTube if you want to watch that mess of a show. Have fun.
I was a little tipsy during that whole thing.
Somehow it got unlisted on YouTube, and I had like multiple people asking me like, I have to watch this. Where is it? So you guys can enjoy that one as well. Thank you again, and we will talk to you guys tomorrow.